You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Mike.
And I'm Justin.
And this is episode 106. Spookyfest 2023.
Yes.
This is our 5th year in a row doing Spookyfest.
Damn.
Time flies.
Time does fly. It feels like only yesterday. Wait, no, that was yesterday.
Time flies when you're dead.
Yeah. Undead.
That's right. Everyone's dead here, including us. No.
And the bands.
And everybody, yeah. So we are once again out and about, outdoors at a wonderful Spookyfest festival that we host every year. Definitely not indoors. It is absolutely outside.
Yes, and it is the day that you're listening to this, not any other day.
Yes, exactly. We are live.
Live and in chive?
Live and undead.
There we go.
So, our first track on this spooky night came from I Spy Spooky Mansion Deluxe. This came out on the Wii in 2010. It also came out on the PC, Windows, and I believe Mac OS as well in 1999. It also got a deluxe version in 2004. The Mac version did come out in 99.
Oh, wow. So this is actually a classic.
Yeah, for sure. And then they basically brought it back up again for the Wii, which it fits. I mean, I first found out about this one because my daughter and I have been going to the library recently because we have a library here in our town, and it's one of those things where it's like, hey, it's something to do for our kids that doesn't cost us any money. We're taxpayer dollars,
Yeah.
Hey, we're paying for it, may as well, So we get to go, and they have an extensive CD library, which I was like, I'm gonna take some CDs out, DVDs and movies and everything. They got a whole great kids section there, so we found this book, I Spy Spooky Mansion, and so we were like, let's check it out. So it was a lot of fun to try to hunt down some of the stuff. I was like, man, I cannot spy this. I can't find it.
Yeah.
There were some I was just like, wow, I cannot find these. So it was a lot of fun. While I was digging for tunes, I found this and was like, oh, that's perfect.
So this game is like one of those like find the hidden things.
Yeah,
games?
I Spy with my little eye,
Yeah.
and then they give you basically hints as to what you're looking for, and so you're just looking around this giant image of what those, if you could find those things. Everything's very well hidden. Some are pretty obvious.
I mean, they've been out for forever, but I feel like they've been getting more popular recently, or maybe I've just been getting older and I've been seeing them more.
That's what it is.
But, I mean, it absolutely could be. Just like you're at that age where it gets thrown at you more because that's how the algorithm works.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've seen like Game Grumps. They've played, I think in past years, they've played like Halloween type games in those. Around the holidays, they play holiday themed games that are the I Spy games.
Yeah.
And I see them every so often on like the Google Play Store, and I think my mother plays them too on her iPad.
That's how you know we're all getting old. Is we're all like, I want to play some I Spy game.
But I mean, it's low stakes, it's low stress,
sure.
and it's cool. Like it's something to do because you're doing something. You're looking for the stuff. You have to pay attention.
Yeah.
And
it keeps your mind active, which is important as you're getting older.
Yeah, so. a lot like the Sudoku games, the nonogram games that I like to play. Like they're not stressful. I mean, they can be when it just like doesn't make sense and you're trying to like figure the puzzles out. But yeah, I understand the allure of these games
for sure.
I also still like action and violent games. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So this track was called Scavenger Hunt, and it's a kind of a short little ditty. It's by Bong and Dern Inc., which is made up of Chris Burke and John Dylan Keith. So we'll get into them in just a second. The song kind of reminded me of something from like Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, okay.
Those like very tinny tribal drums in particular, like the dok, 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 like those like tom. They're like really high rim shot almost drums. So that kind of mixed in with those very booming like kind of bassy drums. The whole thing just really kind of reeked of Mortal Kombat 2, and in the best possible way. Like, if you told me this was in Mortal Kombat 2, I'd be like, yeah, I believe you.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with a lot of the Mortal Kombat music, actually, because I never really got into the series, but I would say I thought that this was appropriately spooky music. It kind of reminds me of the music in some of the like spooky-ish kids shows.
I'm sorry,
like
the what?
The spooky-ish. That's
I'm
why
sorry,
I didn't.
the what?
No, it's only ish. That's why
Oh.
it doesn't get the full ooh because it's
okay,
only an ish.
All right. Respect.
But things like, I don't know if you remember Erie, Indiana,
Sure.
Goosebumps,
Okay.
like the quote unquote kids horror shows. Like they're not
Yes.
really horror.
It's like
there's an argument there.
diet horror, like
Yes.
horror light, or like baby's first horror.
Yeah, like Tales from the Crypt Keeper as
Right.
opposed from Tales from the Crypt.
Right.
It's a Saturday morning cartoon, but still.
Not quite as light as like Willy Wonka, but like
That's got some horror to it.
yeah, but not quite as dark as like I don't know, like Coraline. I don't know.
Okay.
Coraline's kind of dark.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's still a kids movie.
Sure,
but
sure.
It is definitely a darker kids movie.
Yeah. So Chris Burke is our first member of Bong and Dern, credited for quite a bit, starting off with Gahan Wilson's The Ultimate Haunted House. So again, sticking with that spooky motif. Did a game called With Open Eyes in 1995 for Windows 3.x. Jumping around a bunch of the I Spy games. I Spy Treasure Hunt, I Spy Junior Puppet Playhouse, I Spy Fantasy, lots of stuff like that. Jewel Quest in 2004, they did music and sound effects. Their latest game was this in 2010.
Right.
Via the Wii game. So,
Neat.
Yeah. John Dylan Keith, a lot less stuff. 2001's I Spy Treasure Hunt, Little Bill Thinks Big, not about Bill Clinton, in 2003. And I clicked it just to make sure it is just an educational game. I Spy Fantasy in 2003, and then this game in 2005, the deluxe version they're credited
Gotcha.
for. So yeah, probably what happened is Chris Burke designed did the music, and John Dylan Keith, I'm assuming,
Arranged it?
or worked on it for the deluxe version, which most likely got converted over to the Wii version. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So before we kick things off, we've got a little special surprise for Justin here. I have picked up the Mountain Dew Voodoo.
Voodoo?
Voodoo. This is the mystery flavor of, and I'm going to crack it open. Ready? Here we go. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to crack it open, and we're going to take a sip, and I figure we'll just get drunk on Mountain Dew Voodoo.
Cracking open a cold one with the boys.
Yeah, you know how we do, except it's sugary soda, because, none of us drink, really, so.
That's true.
So cheers to right over our mixer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Safe.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, wow. That is very sweet. That is very cherry. It's cherry, right?
No.
No?
No, because I very much like cherry. Not that I don't like this, but like I know cherry flavor.
Yeah, what
fairly
is
well.
that?
It definitely.
Are you
I'm
sure
I'm
that's not
tasting. I'm
cherry?
tasting some kind of berry.
Boy, I'm confused. I had that pegged for cherry.
Yeah, and that is a clear soda, which is
It is
always
very
fun.
clear and very soda. So by the end of this episode, we will probably be dead from drinking this, but I figure we'll move on to our next track. We've got Secret of Mana coming up, and you wouldn't normally think Secret of Mana for Halloween.
Yeah,
time.
what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, Mike? Super Nintendo. This game actually just got its 30th anniversary the other day.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah, 1993 was the year of release. Ceremony is the name of this track, and it's by Hiroki Kikuta. All right, we are back, and that was the very creepy Secret of Mana game song Ceremony. That came out in the Super NES in 1993, and that was by Hiroki Kikuta.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was something. Every time I hear anything from Secret of Mana, or really just think of Secret of Mana, or somebody mentions Secret of Mana, somebody I follow on YouTube, the Happy Console Gamer.
Oh.
Yeah, Happy Console Gamer did a video on the 30th anniversary that just happened like the other day. Mm. And man, I left a comment and I'm surprised nobody has shot back and been like, what's wrong with you? I've had this game. I've never played it. First off, I've never played Secret of Mana like as a kid. Like never played it. Never owned it. I was a Chrono Trigger guy. Like that was my first like real RPG experience. That and I guess I played a lot of action RPGs like Zelda and like East, that sort of stuff. But yeah, never really played anything else. This is an action RPG that came out in 93, and it got great reviews. It's considered one of the best games on the Super NES. I've literally never played it. And it's sitting on my shelf over there, complete in box. Never played it.
You make me sick.
I make myself sick. How dare I?
So I have played this game, although I've never beaten it. I think I've started this game like 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. It's just when I think of RPGs and generally when I want to play an RPG, I want to play something that is either like turn-based or ATB style. Okay. And this is, like you said, an action RPG, and it plays a little bit differently than your Zeldas and your other action RPGs like that. And every time I sit down to play it, it's very fun, and the novelty doesn't necessarily wear off. I just kind of get distracted by other things. Then anytime I want to come back, I always have to restart because I just have no idea.
Forget. Yeah. It's definitely one of those games that, much like Chrono Trigger, you probably can't like play and then like not play for like 8 months if you've never played it before, you know, and then come back to it, you'll be lost. So
yeah, no, that's for sure. And I don't know, like I do enjoy this game. I enjoy the music in the game. I enjoy the fighting system and the characters. I've never beaten it. I don't remember how far I've gotten. I was saying, you know, while we were listening to this, I think I've gotten as far as this, but it could just be like this game also has a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
I have the game soundtrack and I've listened to it many times. So I'm just trying. I cannot remember if I've actually gotten to this point in the game or if I've just heard the song so many times.
Yeah.
But I love it because it is, you're right. You say Secret of Mana and you don't think, oh, creepy music. It's not like a Halloween or a scary game.
Right.
But this track, like the reverb on everything is I feel what gives a lot of this track its creepiness, along with like the toy-like sound of that xylophone. And then just kind of like the warble. But it's, for a very not scary, creepy game, this is a very creepy track.
Yeah, I was very surprised by this one. I kind of found it by accident. I believe it takes place in the game in the Pandora Ruins, from what I'm Googling, but don't quote me on that, because again, I haven't played the game. I was torn on if I was going to do this version or if I was going to try to check out like the remake, because they remade the game for PS4. And I never played that one either.
Well, do they? So, are you talking about the? Didn't they remake the trilogy?
So they did Trials of Mana, which is I think a remake of the third game, if I recall.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because there was.
And I have that one and the collection, and I still haven't played this damn game. I'm so bad. You know what's funny is I started up the third game too. I was like, oh, let me try this. It looks cool. And I think I played 5 minutes of it and was just like, oh man, it's so hard for me to play those kind of games now.
That's fair. I'm just trying to remember. There was a remake. It wasn't a remaster. It was a remake that came out somewhat recently in the last few years.
Okay.
That people were excited for, and then it came out and it just it bombed. Like it was not. It was not a well-done
was that
remake.
Live Alive or
No,
this? Of this. Oh, okay. I hadn't heard that it was bad. The graphics looked great.
Yeah, well,
it looked very faithful to the original.
That was the thing. Like the graphics looked cool. Like it was. It was it was almost like they took the sprites and the pixel models and turned them 3D. And
you're never gonna win. You know what I mean? Like you're either gonna do a 1-for-1 replica and remake, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's terrible. It doesn't have enough new stuff," and then you're gonna get the other half of people that are like, "Oh, it's great," and then you're gonna do or like something like Final Fantasy VII remake, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, this is terrible. It's so different," So you're just not gonna win. Sorry,
Yeah.
Square Enix, you're just not going to win.
Yeah, from what I'm reading to try to refresh myself on this, the game, it was the remake of Secret of Mana. It was very crash prone. People weren't very pleased with it. Although it looks like the Trials of Mana.
Yeah.
Some people are saying it's a fantastic remake. So
good.
I'm likely getting my remakes mixed up somewhere in there.
Possibly. Yeah. So one of these days I'll play it. I swear, it's a bucket list game for me for sure.
Fair.
Hiroki Kikuta, the composers on this one, as well as many of the other Mana games, did Seiken Densetsu 3, which is Secret of Mana 3 or whatever it is. Trials of Mana. I don't know. Yeah.
The third game in the Mana
I think
series.
it's called Trials of Mana. The first game in the series is Final Fantasy Adventure, which is just Seiken Densetsu 1. That's
Right.
the one that came out on the Game Boy. And then Seiken Densetsu 3, I believe, is Trials of Mana, but like the original version of that game.
Yeah, because Trials of Mana is a different game that came out in 1995. So
Okay.
yeah, I must be thinking of the 2018 remake
Yeah, there's been
versus what
so
you're
many.
talking about is the 2020 remake of Trials.
Yeah, there's been so many Mana games. I'm all mana'd out. I got no mana, man. Mana, momano, banana, fana, fofana. Anyways, Kudelka did the music on that in 99. Demon's Score in 2012 for the iPhone. And then worked on the Atelier series with Atelier Esha and Lagi, Alchemist of the Dusk Sky. I think that's how you pronounce it, Lagi or Lagi. Worked on Blade Arcus from Shining Battle Arena. I believe that is a fighting game, if I recall. That is a fighting game with Shining Blade characters and Shining Hearts characters.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then after the Secret of Mana remake that they did in 2018, they followed it up with Indivisible, which is that indie game that came out, had a Kickstarter, pretty successful if I recall. And then their latest game is, I'm going to butcher this, but it's YIIK, which I'm assuming it's
Eek. Yeah. That's what I would say.
Maybe it's Eek. Like
Eek the cat.
Yeah, Eek the Cat, a postmodern RPG. Nice. They did additional composition on that. So, yeah.
Very
Good
cool.
times. Yeah. What do you got for us?
All right. Well, you remember Alf? Well,
Sure.
he's back in Pokemon form.
Okay.
All right, that's enough Simpsons joke. This is Ruins of Alph, spelled ALPH, from Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver. This came out on the Nintendo DS in 2009, and was composed by Go Ichinose, Shota Kageyama, Hitomi Sato, Junichi Masuda, and Takuto Kitsuda.
I got Shu.
Hey, you're back. That was Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver from 2009 on the Nintendo DS. Ruins of Alph is the name of that track, and it was composed by Go Ichinose, Shota Kageyama, Hitomi Sato, Junichi Masuda, and Takuto Kitsuda.
I like how thrown off you were by my South Park reference.
That's just not where my head was, and I was just like,
I
what?
should have kept recording because I immediately hit stop, and then you were just like, there was this long pause, and you were just like, what? It was really funny.
It caught me off guard.
It did. You know, this really doesn't sound like Pokemon to me, which is, I guess, a good thing in the sense that Pokemon to me, all the music is very like happy-go-lucky. It seems like it's very like adventurous.
I mean, most of it is.
Yeah. But then you threw this in, and this kind of echoes a lot of the themes that we're showcasing in this episode so far. A lot of kind of twinkly, dark keys and synths and instrumentation.
With a lot of reverb.
Yeah, lots of reverb, too.
Yeah.
Interesting that we kind of lined all those up that way.
It's almost like we planned it, and we really didn't.
We really didn't, I swear. Yeah.
I don't think we ever consulted with each other when we pick tracks.
I don't think
outside of like the certain episodes when we're doing research on stuff.
And intros. Sometimes intros will be like, hey, I want to play this, or this would work better. But
we generally agree on the intros.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver, it's the remake of Pokemon Gold and Silver, which is Generation 2 of Pokemon.
So the Game Boy Color ones.
Actually, I think we're
Gold and Silver came out on the Game Boy Color? Because red, blue, and yellow were Game Boy.
Right.
And also there was a green in Japan, I believe.
I think that was a myth.
No, I thought it was real.
I don't remember.
You're a myth.
Nice. Yes, you're right. This is the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so, the sound chip on the Game Boy Color, not so different from the sound chip on the original Game Boy.
Sure.
But this track on the original, because I was between those two on what to do, but this one just sounded so much better. And I mean, you could do a lot on the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Color.
Sure.
But it was very minimalist, and I felt like the echo and what they added in this one actually made it a bit more creepy. Like the original was kind of creepy, but it was creepy because it felt very empty, and this one's creepy because they have more things that can give you that feeling. It still does feel kind of empty. There's not a ton going on here. You got those bells, you got the synths, some strings. There's no percussion. I mean, I guess bells and xylophones would be considered like percussion, but still, it's still minimal. It's still a bit empty, but the reverb that they can add on the Nintendo DS, it just added this whole extra level of empty.
Yeah. The DS really improved upon the audio that was available on the GBA.
Yes.
You could do a lot more with it, so it wasn't so difficult to work with as the GBA, which was very similar to the Sega Genesis. It's kind of like whoever is working on it really is going to showcase their efforts. Not everything sounds good on the Game Boy Advance.
No. I think a lot of it has to do with you've mentioned before, like the compression and just stuff like that.
Yeah, it's rough.
There is some great music on the Game Boy Advance.
Sure.
It's a lot of it does have just qualities that make it hard to listen to sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So this game is just basically more of the same, right? Yep. I mean, are you still playing as Ash in this one?
Oh no, every game is a different protagonist.
Oh, it's a different protagonist.
Yeah, because at the end of this one, they actually connected this to the first game, because after you beat the champion of the region, you then go up a mountain and fight Red, who is the alternative name for Ash. Like Ash is what they called him in the TV series.
TV show.
The official name for the protagonist, I believe, in the original game was technically Red. If you've played any Pokemon game, you know how they go. You fight through the gyms, you take on the Elite Four, you become the champion, you defeat some kind of villainous organization throughout. And I mean, the later games kind of changed the formula a little bit, but that's kind of the overarching thing to every Pokemon game. There's some kind of a crisis going on in the background that you end up inadvertently or advertently helping out with. There are a whole host of new Pokemon to find, catch, and train.
A lot of beating up giant wads of meat, hanging meat in a locker, like a freezer. Climbing up some stairs, right? Montages of climbing stairs. Well, I mean, you want to be the very best, right?
The best there ever was.
Well, you got to take out Rocky then, because he's the very best, the best there ever was. So,
oh man,
yeah.
I played the original Red and Blue. I mean, Red specifically. When Gold and Silver came out, I couldn't get into it again. I've popped in and out of the series a number of times. It's fun. I remember I jumped back in when they did the remakes of Red and Green, Fire Red and Leaf Green, and those were good. I mean, they felt very much like the original games.
I think my issue with Pokemon has always been too many Pokemon.
I mean, you don't have to catch them all.
You have to catch them all. It's literally in the name of the show.
That's the show. It's not the game.
Yeah, but the game you also have to catch them all. Come on, Justin. You gotta catch them all.
I mean, only if you want the perfect ending.
Pokemon. Yeah. I picked up Yellow, and I really liked Yellow. I liked playing with Pikachu, starting out with Pikachu. So I thought that was cool. And the music's good. Pokemon's got good music, so.
Yeah. And I I also thought Yellow was a good spin on the original game.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've kind of done that with every series. You know, Gold and Silver.
No, Crystal was definitely on Game Boy Color. I remember it specifically because I remember working at Toys R Us when it came out or shortly before it came out.
I know with Diamond and Pearl, the third one was Platinum.
Yeah. They need to come up with like some more diverse names, like, you know.
Well, they don't do it like that
what about
anymore.
sour? Like I don't know, some kind of like gross name. They need to go.
Is this Earthbound?
Yeah, they need to go like more like mid '90s with this.
Jeez,
like Pokemon Trash or Pokemon Dumpster and.
Pokemon Garbage Pail Kids?
Yeah. Pokemon Dumpster and Pokemon Landfill. That's it. Pokemon Dumpster and Pokemon Landfill. I need that to happen.
Insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't do the third game anymore because now it's just DLC. Like Scarlet and Violet came out in the Switch, and then instead of making a third game with a slightly tweaked plot and whatever else, they just add DLC, which it's the way to do it these days.
Yeah, for sure. All right. What about these composers? There's quite a few.
Yeah, most of them are just Pokemon alums.
Okay.
So starting with Go Ichinose, they actually started out doing music on the TurboGrafx CD in 1996 on a game called Bazuru de Gozuru, no Game de Gozuru. And then they got into Pokemon with Pokemon Gold and Silver, the original on the Game Boy Color, in 1999. And then we have them, you know, Ruby, Sapphire, Leaf Green, Fire Red, Diamond, Pearl. It's all in here up until the last main Pokemon game that they worked on was Pokemon Sword. They also did a composition Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is, or Arceus depending on how you pronounce it. That is not a mainline game, but it's like it plays like a mainline Pokemon, but it's set like 100 years in the past or 50 years in the past.
Okay.
So like the Pokemon are a little bit different. And their last actual credit here is from 2023's Pocket Card Jockey Ride On.
Cool.
Let's see. We've got Shota Kageyama. Started out doing composition in Luminous Arc in 2007 on the Nintendo DS. And then they come into Heart Gold Soul Silver. So this version that we just played. Pokemon X and Y, Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon Duel. So their last mainline Pokemon game that I'm seeing here is Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, which is the remake of Pokemon Sapphire that came out in 2014. And then from there, they've done like Pokken Tournament, Pokemon Duel in 2016, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu in 2018, and finally in 2023, Pokemon Sleep, the game that is somewhat all the rage somewhat all the rage with a lot of the people that I know that like Pokemon, where it just you turn it on when you go to sleep or something, and it tracks your sleep, and the better your sleep habits are, the better your Pokemon do.
So I guess you'd call it Rage Against the Sleep Machine.
Sure. As someone who just got a CPAP, I can agree. I can agree to that.
All right.
And we got Hitomi Sato starting out doing Pokemon Emerald in 2004. Then again, Pokemon Emerald, Diamond and Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White 2, X and Y, Sun, Moon. Let's see. Their most recent composition is on Pokemon Legends Arceus again. The last mainline Pokemon game was Pokemon Sun and Moon in 2016. And then we've got Junichi Masuda, who I believe is the very best there ever was. Started out doing... They've done everything in the Pokemon series, from production to writing to designing. And they did actually... They are the original composer for the Pokemon series. They started out on Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow. But going even further back in 1989, they started out doing music on Mendel Palace on the NES, Mario and Wario in 93 on the SNES, and then every Pokemon game that's ever been made, they've had some kind of audio credit on it, ending actually in 2018 with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. So it looks like they've moved to other roles for the more recent games. And then finally, Takuto Kitsuda started out on Avengers and Galactic Storm in 1996. It was an arcade game. And their Pokemon work started with Pokemon Ranger in 2006 on the DS. And then they came over to the mainline games for Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Most recent game in their list is Detective Pikachu, the 2016 Nintendo 3DS game.
Cool.
Yes, sir. All right, now after all those composers, what do you have next?
Yeah, so next up on our Spooky Spooky show, we have Laser Ghost, which came out in the arcade in 1989. It's not the Sega Master System version. This is different. This song is called Sour Puke, Acidic Content, and it's by Koichi Namiki. Hey, thanks for joining us back on our Spookyfest 5th anniversary. That was Laser Ghost, the arcade game that came out in 1989. That track was by Koichi Namiki, and it's called Sour Puke, Acidic Content. Delicious.
Well, that song definitely left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, a sour one at that. When I think of the name of this song, though, it really does kind of ring true to the way that this song kind of progresses. It's a very vomit-based track. And when I say that, I don't mean it's a bad song. It's very jazz-oriented. It's very like...
I was going to mention that.
Freeform jazz.
The walking bass was something that I picked up on pretty quickly. And I was like, okay, it's a bit jazzy, yeah.
Yeah, I like that walking bass. It sounds a bit like Side Pocket, something from Side Pocket on the Genesis. But I really dig the kind of wobbly synths. It's just like very up and down.
Yeah, it's almost theremin-like.
Yes, exactly. And that is totally the feeling that you get when you're about to throw up. Like,
okay, I get it.
You know what I mean? Like you have this very like, oh, I don't feel so good, and then the idea of sour puke. Like one of the first thing you'll taste is this. I call it the sours.
Oh, okay.
So you'd be like, oh, you're like talking to my daughter, and I'll be like, she's like, oh, I feel nauseous, and I'll be like, do you have the sours? And she's like, what? And I'm like, let me explain. You have to explain, like, do you taste something sour in your mouth? No. Okay, then you're not going to throw up. So, yeah.
I don't know that I've ever really picked up on that. The trigger that I have that I know that I'm going to throw up or something is I'll start salivating for no reason, I won't be able to stop.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever noticed a sour taste.
Oh, yeah. No, big time for me. Every time I'm about to throw up, I get that salivating taste. You know, the salivating, I'm just like, ugh, okay, all right, it's coming. And then I get a taste of the sours. Yep. And then I throw up. And then I break out, because every time I throw up, I break out in hives.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, like I have like on my cheeks. And my oldest daughter has the same thing too. So I'm like, yeah, that's where she got it from. So.
Clearly.
Yeah. This game is an interesting little Sega game, published and developed by Sega. It involves a quest against a blue demon that has taken over this city and is sending out his evildoers, these goblins and ghouls and whatnot, to take over the city. And he's also kidnapped a young girl. That's all we know is she's a young girl.
Oh.
So you play as one of three heroes, Bill, Max, or Carol, to try to send that demon back to hell. It's a laser gun shooting game, so it's like, Time Crisis, like that sort of thing.
Okay.
So there's 5 stages. You just go around shooting everything that moves, basically. And at the end of each stage, you'll fight a boss, and then you beat him, and then you move on to the next level. So there's all different limited weapons that you can get to. If you get shot by an enemy, or if you touch an enemy, then you lose part of your life bar, and when it's over, it's over. So, and
It's not over till it's over.
well, you put in a quarter and then you start over, or you start, continue. Yeah. So, this came out in the late 80s, so it's kind of got that awkward in between era for light gun shooters, but I thought it was pretty unique, and I thought the song name was ridiculous, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to check it out and see if it's any good, and I enjoyed it.
Fair, yeah. So I didn't mean to give the impression that I didn't enjoy the song with my comment earlier. It's definitely one of the weirder songs that I think we've played.
Sure.
But there were a few things that made me laugh, and overall, like I said, I enjoyed the walking bass, and I don't like free jazz. I got to pay for my jazz. But more free form jazz.
That shouldn't have been that funny.
No, it shouldn't have been. Free form feeling jazz like this definitely wasn't free form because it's computer generated.
The synth made it freeform sounding.
It did give it that feel. But yeah, I enjoyed kind of that melody with the synth. And the thing that made me laugh was like the one drum that happened for like literally half a second, twice in the song.
Right.
It felt very cut off.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a mistake at first. Then what happened again, I was like, oh, that's just the drum.
Yep. That's
singular.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was interesting, and it definitely wasn't bad.
No.
It was just it was a wacky, waving, inflatable, flailing arm tube tune.
Accurate. Koichi Namiki started off with Galaxy Force 2 in the arcade, credited as Nami Nami. Then later on did Dark Edge in the arcade in 1993, so a pretty big gap in between there. Worked on games like Virtual Open Tennis, Ninja Jajamaru-kun, some of those games. Prisoner of Ice in 97 for the Saturn and the PlayStation. Winning Post 3, Guitar Freaks, Magid Death Fight Maho Gakuen in 2002 for the Xbox. Then they kind of took a sabbatical from 2007, where they were credited for an old game, Galaxy Force 2 Special Edition, which is part of the Sega Ages, like PS2 line of games that came out. And then they started doing one game. They did Cotton Reboot, which is their latest game.
I have that.
2021. They did the Stage 6 and Stage 6 boss music.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And that is all. So before we move on, I wanted to go over our first sponsorship. So
yes, our classic traditional Spookyfest sponsors.
Yes, yeah, we thank them for their support to be able to do this festival year after year. So Sour Puke Ice Cream by Pumpkin Hill Ice Cream Company is our first sponsor. Do you have a sweet tooth, Justin?
Yes.
How about a sour tooth?
Sometimes.
Pumpkin Hill Ice Cream Company wants to ruin your ice-cold sweet ventures with their patented Sour Puke ice cream. And yes, it's made by real laser ghosts. Taste the magic and the puke and come on down to their ice cream factory in Knucklesville, Vermont. Open Mondays and Tuesdays between 3 and 5 a.m. Free samples and garbage bags given at the door. Good times.
Yum.
Yeah, delicious. Let's move on to our next game, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, a little less pukey.
Yeah.
This is going to be from Luigi's Mansion, the 2001 GameCube game. The track is going to be Mansion, the low health version, and it is composed by Shinobu Tanaka and Kazumi Totaka. Okay, that was Mansion, the low health version from Luigi's Mansion, the GameCube game that came out in 2001. Also composed by Shinobu Tanaka, Kazumi Totaka.
And Charles Martinet. I mean, you can't get...
Is Charles Martinet Luigi too?
Oh, yeah.
He can't be all the characters.
He is.
Next, you're going to tell me that he's also Bowser and he's Peach.
No.
I'm just... Yeah.
No.
Actually, I didn't realize that he did Luigi's voice. I legit thought that they had a different voice actor for Luigi.
No. Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi are all voiced by Charles Martinet.
Wow.
Were voiced by Charles Martinet.
Well,
he retired
recently
last
retired.
month or a month, 2 months ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, I mean, I'm super pumped for Mario Wonder, Super Mario Wonder.
Yeah, that looks wild.
Looks great. Looks like a lot of fun. And you could play as Daisy, which is amazing. So, good times. But... yeah, he's not voicing any of the characters. He's now stepped down, and he's going to be like, I don't know, part of spreading the word of Mario, whatever that means. I think it's just basically code for he got fired, but he's still allowed to go to cons and use his name.
He got fired?
I don't. I'm speculating.
Gotcha.
I think what happened behind the scenes was they were like, maybe he approached them, was like, hey, I still want to be part of the Mario thing, but I want to step down. You know, maybe he's just, you know, he's been doing it for 30 years.
While. Yeah. I was going to say.
So, almost 30 years. And so I think that's pretty much what happened.
Okay.
So I think they have a new Mario, and
we'll see how it goes.
It sounds almost identical.
Yeah, I mean, not to downplay it, because like doing Mario's voice well and making it sound good is not easy, but I think there are a lot of people out there that can do a pretty good Mario impression.
It's
and
like
if you're
Mickey
doing
Mouse.
the impression, yeah,
anybody could do. You know, it's like Arnold or Mickey Mouse.
Yeah,
you know, like.
And I mean, the more you do it, the better it's going to sound. So I mean, they can hire somebody that does a good impression and just work it to the point like, hey, it sounds like it's Mario.
Dude, they should have just hired Arnold.
Hey, Arnold?
No, Arnold, like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that would have been a great.
Let's go.
It's a me.
It's a me, Mario. Or maybe I'm Wario. Listen to me. You got to get the mushroom.
Get the princess and get down.
Get down. Yeah.
All right.
So, anyways, I don't know. I really enjoyed Luigi's Mansion, and this tune is great. I love the motif that Kazumi Totaka and Shinobu Tanaka did for this game. The motifs that, specifically, I think that was a Totaka thing, because in almost every game that he's worked on, or a good chunk of games that he's worked on, he always likes to fill games with like one single motif and just like change the track, you know, to fit it.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it worked really well for this game because, for one, it made the music memorable.
Yeah.
And for two, the way that they changed things up. So, like, every main level track has, I think, 3 versions. There's the regular version, there's the low health version, then there's like somewhere in the middle. So you've got the regular version doesn't really have Luigi doing much at all.
Right.
The medium version has a little bit of like Luigi's getting scared.
Right.
And then you got the low health version where Luigi is basically humming to himself to keep himself from going crazy.
Right.
And I really like I said, Charles Martinet. I thought he did a really good job with Luigi's voice in there.
Yeah.
I thought it really conveyed how scared he was, and like you really get the emotion of how he's feeling trying to hunt these ghosts in this haunted mansion.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
And you know, being on low health, like if you mess up, you're gonna die, and like Luigi doesn't want that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, this was a launch title for the GameCube, and I still think the visuals hold up in this game. I think it's a great looking game. So it's a lot of fun. I was playing this with my oldest daughter fairly recently, and she really liked it. So
Yeah.
it's a fun game. It's difficult too, because like you are sucking up the ghost with the vacuum, and it's called the Poltergust, and as you're sucking up the ghost, the ghosts are pulling all around the room, and you've got to really quick like move the analog stick with the motions.
Yep.
So if they go left, you got to pull right, basically go against their motions, and it can get pretty tricky.
Yeah. I remember this feeling like a cool Ghostbusters game. Like we never we got in the 360 era. We did get good Ghostbusters games later on, but this was just like, oh man, it's not Ghostbusters, but like this is what I always imagined Ghostbusting to be like.
Yeah. I mean, there were a handful of good Ghostbusters games that came out like in the 90s, so there were a few, but yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. But these composers, Shinobu Tanaka, started out in 2001 with Dobutsu no Mori on the N64 and has done a handful of things between then and now. I see some Animal Crossing, some other Mario games like Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Kart TS, Double Dash. We play. Their most recent game was actually in 2020 on Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Switch. And then Kazumi Totaka, a lot more going on in this resume. Going back to X on the Game Boy in 1992. Oh man, I didn't realize Twitter was around back then.
That's the Star Fox predecessor.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you got Mario Paint in 1992 on the SNES. There's so much here. Luigi's Mansion, Yoshi Touch and Go, Wii Sports, Super Mario Sluggers, Mario Kart Wii. Still active in this day and age. Most recent credit here is actually for voices on Mario Strikers Battle League. But the most recent music, I've got arrangement on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, because who didn't work on that?
Sure, for sure.
But yep.
Nice.
And yeah, before we move on to our next track, we do have another sponsor. This one from the Poltergust 4000. Right from the Luigi's Mansion series, we have the Poltergust 4000, the ultimate pet and ghost vacuum. Got a Siberian Husky you need to clean up molted fur from, but also want to capture ghosts? No problem. Thanks to this hybrid pet and ghost vacuum, you'll never have to worry about fur or hauntings again. Available exclusively at Dr. Egad's booth at this very festival.
Yep. So if you go take a left right by the Danubian Slime Devil lot, you'll see it. It's right there on the right hand side.
Yeah, it's not too far from the food court.
Yeah. Moving on, we're going to move on to a survival horror game that came out called Run Like Hell, or RLH as it's been acronymed. Xbox and PS2, this game came out on, I believe it was around 2004. We're going to double check that, but Urge is the name of the track, and it's by Einan Zur and Albert Lloyd Olson. Oh man, that was a spooky track from Run Like Hell, also known as RLH. Quick clarification, it came out in 2002 for the PS2 and 2003 for the Xbox. Urge is the name of the song, and it's by Einan Zur and Albert Lloyd Olson. I just want to quickly discuss the music on this one, because the audio credits are a mess here. So Einan Zur did the cinematic music. The music was recorded and mixed by Dori Amarillo. Game music is by Albert Lloyd Olson. And then there's a bunch of mixers and supervisors and audio scripting and all that stuff. But then there's songs. There's a bunch of different songs, and they're listed by different bands, different artists. Brian Vance from Coma, Raymond Herrera, who was in Fear Factory, Rick Schaefer, credited for Womb Music, Will LeConto, Loco Power, Polyamorous, Home, Water, Shallow Bay. Those are all the song credits. I don't know if those are like original songs that these guys wrote that are like featured in the soundtrack as well. But on top of that, there's Breaking Benjamin music in this. So Breaking Benjamin has basically during the boss fights, you hear this music that just doesn't fit with the rest of the music in the game. It's a very sci-fi, like Star Trek meets, I don't want to say Saw, but like the whole plot of the game is you play as a character voiced by Lance Henriksen. His name is Captain Nicholas Connor. He is working on the space station, and you're walking through. You've got this super hot wife or girlfriend or whatever that is also on the station with you. She's a bit of a rookie in terms of weapons, and you know Nicholas is like the high and mighty weapons dude. He goes off on a mission with another woman, and when he comes back, the ship is devastated. Like the inside is all, you know, torn apart. There's people dead everywhere. And then the girl that you came on the ship with, she gets her head ripped off. It's hilarious.
Jeez.
Yeah, like she steps off the ship and she's like, what's going on? And then her head gets ripped off. It's hilarious. It's done in a very comical way. I laughed, but I also have a dark sense of humor. So after that, it's a survival horror action game. You're going through trying to find out the mystery of what happened on the ship. And it's kind of like, yeah, I'd say it's like Star Trek mixed with the movie Aliens. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, very similar. This track really kind of stood out to me. It was definitely very cinematic and really did remind me of something from Prince of Persia. So I was thinking, like, without the, you know, the whole Middle Eastern vibes,
right.
You know, instrumentation and style, but the tone of the song and the instrumentation really kind of threw back to that a little bit, like the newer Prince of Persia games.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
So that's why I was thinking Einan Zur did this one, but I don't know. I can't confirm it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it does kind of have that cinematic feel to it. I would say this track, as far as like emotions or feelings go, this is a very stressful track. Like,
yeah.
From start to finish, I was just like, there's something behind me, isn't there? It's like it was a very stressful track, which is absolutely what it's meant to do. So I thought it did its job very well. I thought the use of the different instruments and just like the squeaking and the fiddling with things was very effective. So the only reason I know of the game Run Like Hell is because of the advertisement campaign. Do you remember?
No, I don't think so.
Grab your balls and run like hell?
Oh, no. Oh, yes. That's right. So in the game, I totally forgot about
balls
this.
are in the game. It's BAWLS. The energy drink.
The energy drink, balls. There are, all around the game, there are vending machines.
Yep.
And you can get balls and drink balls.
Yep.
There's also pip bars from Fallout. So Interplay Entertainment was the owner of this development studio at this time. So Interplay is best known as the creator of the Fallout series. That's why.
I'm thinking of
So most
else.
likely what happened was Interplay owned the studio and they were like, hey, let's toss some Fallout references in there.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
yeah. Einan Zur we've talked about before, specifically when we did anything regarding Prince of Persia. It started off with Star Trek Klingon Academy in 2000 for Windows. Did a War and Peace game in 2002 for Windows. Baldur's Gate 2, Throne of Baal in 2003. The Prince of Persia series, starting with Warrior Within, and also followed up with Two Thrones, Gauntlet 7 Sorrows, the Prince of Persia reboot in 2008, Basically, all the stuff that they did was like all AAA games for the most part. Their latest game is Starfield, which is a brand new game for Windows and I think Xbox, right?
Yeah. It came out somewhat recently.
Yeah, very recently. So, and then Albert Lloyd Olson, much smaller list of credits, started off with Shattered Steel in 1996 for DOS, and then Max Mechanized Assault and Exploration in 96 for Windows, doing the cinematics. Heavy Gear 2 in 99, MDK 2 in 2000 for the Dreamcast, Star Trek Klingon Academy in 2000, again working with Einon Zur, and Run Like Hell was their final game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Indeed. So it looks like we have a patron walking up, and it's
Ryan
McPherson.
Yeah. Hey, Ryan, what's going on?
What's up?
Hey guys, quite the spooky shindig you got going on here. You might want to trademark that.
You mean spooky shindig?
Good point.
Anyway, could you guys play Mother of Sanctuary from Diablo 4?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
All right, thanks.
See ya. All right, let's hear Ryan's pick, Diablo 4, which came out on everything in 2023. Mother of Sanctuary is the name of the song, and it's by Ted Reedy and Leo Kaliski.
All right, that was Ryan McPherson's pick from Diablo 4. Came out on everything in 2023. I got it on PC. It's on Xbox and PS5 and 4 and all that stuff.
Switch?
That's a good question. Diablo 3 is on Switch. I don't know if Diablo 4
Probably
made
not.
it to Switch yet.
Probably not.
Yeah. The track was Mother of Sanctuary, as composed by Ted Reedy and Leo Kaliski.
I've only played Diablo 2.
Lord's Destruction.
Probably the most time I've sunk into a Diablo game. And when I say most time, I mean a couple hours. Diablo 3, I played with our buddy Kevin and his wife Caitlin, and maybe you. I think
we might have played at some point.
We might have played, and I just couldn't get into it. So it's just not my kind of game.
Yeah. No, we've talked about that before, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't get it exactly when it came out. Kevin actually got it for me for my birthday, and I've played it a lot. I've played through the main storyline. I've played through most of the current season, although by the time people are listening to this episode, the second season of Diablo 4 will have started.
Oh.
But the first season is almost over, and it's been okay. There have been a number of issues. They put out a number of patches. The season itself just hasn't felt as strong as like the seasons they did in Diablo 3.
Diablo-y.
Yeah, well, like they're Diablo-y. There's just not like a lot to do. Like it feels very grindy, and I don't mean like grinding to level up, just like doing the same couple of things over and over just for the sake of doing them.
Would you say, in comparison to Taco Bell sauces, there is a Diablo sauce?
Oh, I love the Diablo sauce.
If Diablo sauce is as close as you can get to Diablo, I don't know, like Diablo 2, Diablo 3, etc., would this be like hot or fire or mild or verde?
It's a good question. I'd say Verde only because Verde is the different one of the four.
Okay.
Or maybe even the breakfast.
Oh, the breakfast sauce.
Breakfast is different. So, I mean, this takes place in the same world. It deals with the same types of things. It takes place like 50 years after Diablo 3. And so, not that there was like peace and happiness for 50 years, but things got better in the world for a while. And then at the start of this game, somebody goes and released Lilith, who is not a Lord of Hell or a primeval or anything, but she's the daughter of a Lord of Hatred, Mephisto, who is a primeval. So the story reveals that they call her the Mother of Sanctuary because she basically... Sanctuary is the name of the world.
Sure.
And so she and an angel named Inarius basically created the world of Sanctuary as a sanctuary from the war between heaven and hell. And that's where humans live, and humans are neither angels nor demons, but they're stuck in the middle of this conflict.
Sure.
Just to go back to this track is playing in that final fight against Lilith. Mother of Sanctuary is the name of the track, and the Mother of Sanctuary is the title of Lilith.
Okay.
Overall, fun game. I enjoyed the story.
This song didn't do much for me personally. It's not really my jam, but I kind of tune out a lot of like really kind of grindy tracks like this. It's like, what if you had industrial music, but it was composed by like a symphony? You know, it's like that generic kind of like action movie music that they do in a lot of movies now, like a lot of big blockbuster movies, that it just kind of sounds all the same to me. You know, you got that very hurried rush kind of sound that, I don't know, it just didn't really do much for me to differentiate itself from other songs from other games or movies with this exact type of soundtrack. But I'm also a melody guy. And there's not much melody here,
no, I mean, you get melody in the chorus, but yeah, it's more kind of like slow and plotting than anything else, so that's fair.
Wasn't bad, but it's definitely video game music to listen to while you're playing this, but not necessarily like in your car driving around.
That's fair.
Yeah. Tell me about these composers, though.
Yeah, so Ted Reedy has just a handful of credits here. He started out doing additional music on Dragon Age Inquisition in 2014, and then he did some music for Overwatch 2 in 2022 for Blizzard, and stuck with them to be the lead composer on Diablo 4 in 2023.
No one can stop the Dragon Age Inquisition.
Correct. Leo Kaliski started out in 2014 doing music on Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft, so that's the Blizzard card game that's kind of like Magic the Gathering, but very much simplified.
Oh, so it's like a card game, video game?
Yes,
exactly.
Okay,
cool.
It's pretty fun. I played it for a while back in the day when it first came out. I don't play it as much anymore, but I also don't play Magic as like, you know, it ebbs and flows. It's one of those games like sometimes I'm in the mood for it, and then I get played out.
Sure.
But he is another one that stuck around with Blizzard, or at least Activision. He was a software tester for Call of Duty Black Ops, but he has done music in World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth, Warcraft 3 Reforged in 2020, Overwatch 2, and Diablo 4 as well, just like his buddy Ted there.
Nice.
And that brings us to our third sponsor of this Spookyfest Festival 2023. This sponsor is Prosthetics by Wirt. If you need a replacement limb, why not buy from someone who's had one since he was a small child? Yes, that's right. Word of Tristram fame is finally putting his whittling skills to use for anyone and everyone. Need a leg? What better use for a peg? Need an arm? No articulation means no harm. Is it an eye that you lack? A wooden replacement will have you back on track. Find him outside the cow level, access through the outhouse behind the stables in Saragar, Skogsglen.
Yeah. All right.
So what do we got next?
Up next is a journey back to 1987 on the Famicom, a game that was exclusive to that. That was Megami Tensei Digital Devil Story. This track is called Track 13, and it's by Tsukasa Masuko. That game was Megami Tensei Digital Devil Story. This came out in the Famicom in 1987, and that track was by Tsukasa Masuko. It's called Track 13. What do you think about this one?
This reminded me a lot of Tubular Bells. Like, this felt like a Famicom or NES 8-bit version of Tubular Bells.
Exactly why I picked it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. It's not a complaint of like, oh, this sounds so derivative. I don't care.
Sure.
I enjoy Tubular Bells, and I also enjoy chiptunes. So this was a cool blending of those two things. And I don't think it's exactly like, I think it's inspired by Tubular Bells, and it sounds like it. But
for sure,
it's definitely not the same.
Right. It reminds me a lot of also like Friday the 13th on the NES.
Yes.
So yeah, it's got a nice, it's a bit repetitive for sure, and there's not a lot that goes on in it. You've got a pretty standard backing beat that kind of comes in just shortly after the song starts, maybe about 25 seconds in or so. But overall, that melody kind of hooks you, and that kind of sweeping bass too, the kind of it's like an up and down kind of bass.
Yeah, and it's a constant. Like it's always there. It is very present, and I think that actually adds another like haunting level to the track itself.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know much about this series. We've talked about it before, Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah.
So this one in particular is Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei. I don't believe that this came out outside of Famicom.
No, I don't think so. There might have been ports. Like I feel like there was something on the PSP, and
there's a PS2 game. I remember that. But yeah, no, not
But yeah,
this.
this is the beginning. This is the first Megami Tensei game, isn't
I think
it?
so, yeah. So it's based on a series of horror novels written by a Japanese author named Aya Nishitani. And that was called A Digital Devil Story. Megami Tensei is translated as Goddess Reincarnation. So it's a first-person JRPG. It's got turn-based combat, but it is entirely just like maze traversing. You know, so it's like if you've ever played Fester's Quest and you get inside the buildings, it's like that. Or like Arcana, or like Deja Vu, those types of games where you are moving around a hallway or a corridor. So those games, unfortunately, a lot of them all look very similar in terms of the backgrounds. So when it comes to being in a maze, you really are in a maze. You get lost pretty quick in a lot of these types of games.
Yeah, you got to like keep track of where you are on your own personal piece of paper. Like graph paper helps.
Right. You could summon demons in this game, which is pretty neat. And it is a very different thing that you can do in this series that you can't do in others prior to it. And you can also communicate with various different demons that you find through a computer. So you summon them, and then you fight them. So very Pokemon-esque in a weird way. You could also fuse them. Like if you go into a building and you find like a computer system or something like that, you can use these special facilities to fuse them with each other. So that way you can create like a more powerful, monster. So
Neat.
pretty cool. So, I don't know. It's not really my kind of game or my cup of tea, but I thought the track was really kind of spooky.
Yeah, I thought it was appropriately spooky.
Yeah. Tsukasa Masuko is credited for this one, and they are a long-time video game music composer, starting off with Tekken World Cup in 1985 on the arcade. Funny that we mentioned Friday the 13th because they're the composer on it.
Ah, there you go.
Again, uncredited. A lot of their early NES and Game Boy stuff was uncredited.
I was going to say, a lot of the stuff in like the 80s and probably early 90s is uncredited, I'm sure.
Yep. Zexis, Quirk, Digital Devil Story, Megami Tensei 2, so they continued it. Then they jumped to the PlayStation era, doing games for the PlayStation like Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. Their latest game as a composer is Monarch, which came out in 2022 for Windows and PS4. And I think it also came out on the Switch and PS5.
Neat.
Yeah, so they're still going strong to this day. Not really doing as much lately, but yeah, still making video game music.
Very cool. Nice.
Yeah, I really like this composer and the tracks that they've done. Karate Kid has a great soundtrack on the NES. I love that game. It's super nostalgic for me, so I'm always happy to hear this composer.
Yeah. I can't say I'm familiar with a lot of their later work, but some of their earlier stuff, like you said, Friday the 13th and this, I dig that music. And actually, I think you played a track from Friday the 13th on a previous Spookyfest.
I believe so, yeah. It was the camp building music when you go into the camp counselors' like cabins, so yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, what do you got next? I really love this next game that you picked.
Yeah. So this is going to be from Dead Space. This came out on the PC, PS3, Xbox 360 in 2008. This isn't the new remake.
The remake, right?
Yeah, this is the old Dead Space from 2008.
I can't believe they rebooted that. Like, it's... I don't know. We'll get into it.
Yeah. So the track is Welcome Aboard the USG Ishimura, composed by Jason Graves and Rod Abernathy.
You're listening to XVGM Radio.
Welcome back, festival goers. That was Welcome Aboard the USG Ishimura from Dead Space, the 2008 PC, PS3, and Xbox 360 game, as composed by Jason Graves and Rod Abernathy.
Oh man, Dead Space, great game. A lot of really tension building in this track. Those violins were definitely bringing me back to playing through this one when it came out. I got it when it came out and played through it. And I remember our mutual friend Brian, who's been on the show before, he and I were at my old apartment, and he had his girlfriend who was also a gamer, and we were just hanging out and playing through the game. And if we played during the day, we would close the curtains so it was, we could
Dark,
set the mood. Yeah, but man, it was a lot of fun playing through this, and definitely like a lot of jumps. Like I jumped a lot playing this. It was super good though.
Yeah, I mean, this game has a lot of different types of horror. I mean, you've got the necromorphs, which are kind of like
Space zombies?
Yeah, I was going to compare them to the xenomorphs from Aliens, but they're not really comparable, other than they are a similar threat.
Yeah,
in the name, both ends in morph. But you've got a lot of that kind of stuff. It feels very aliens in that sense. But then there's also like the psychological aspect of the hallucinations, and not being able to tell what's real versus like what's a hallucination when it happens. There's a lot going on in this game that made me never play it. I'm not big on the spooky, scary, real stuff. Like spooky, yeah, I've got plenty of music and stuff like that I like, but I'm not really into horror. Right. Anyway, Dead Space. There's 3 games, and there's also a reboot coming up. Yeah, that came out in January.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, the type of horror that this game is, I don't think I'd be able to deal with it.
It's really good. It's a really fun game. The weapons are awesome. Just everything about it is great. One of the things I really loved about Dead Space was there wasn't really a HUD.
Oh, yeah.
There's no real HUD in the game. HUD is, for those of you who don't know, heads up display. Basically, like when you see life bars or stuff like that.
Your ammo count. All that stuff on screen. Yep.
So that's not there in the game, technically. What they do is they build it into the back of your character.
Yes.
Name of your character is Isaac Clarke, which is a combination of Isaac Asimov and I believe Arthur C. Clarke.
Clarke, yes.
Yeah, both writers. So
both sci-fi writers.
Right. It's a really fun game. Highly recommended during this time of the year. Very spooky.
Oh, absolutely.
Terrifying in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Very, very dark. The ending, I'm not going to ruin the ending for anybody who wants to play it, but the ending is dark and kind of depressing.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't played the sequels. I own them, but I haven't sat down with them, so maybe I'll do that. I've heard the third one is not great.
I've heard the second one was pretty good. So the second one plays, from what I understand, very similarly to the first.
Okay.
And then the third one, they tried to change the formula a little bit. There are a handful of things that are different, either additions or subtractions from the recipe, and I think that's why it just didn't go over as well.
Yeah. I don't know why they remade this. It really kind of still holds up, in my opinion. But I don't know. That's just me. The composers on this one, though.
Yeah. We've definitely talked about Rod Abernathy a handful of times, but just to kind of touch on that again, started out doing music in The Revenge of Shinobi in 2002 Game Boy Advance game, has done Star Trek games, Star Trek Tactical Assault, Star Trek Legacy in 2006, a lot of stuff, even up to the new Dead Space that came out in 2023, he is listed as Associate Composer.
Ah, okay.
So he is a very prolific composer for our time.
We talked about Dead Space on episode 10.
That's right.
Which was our survival horror episode with Avalanche Jared.
Yes.
Yep. Also known as Avalanche Reviews now.
Yes. I knew this game had come up at some point because I remember talking about it.
Yeah, I think the track I picked for that episode was Do Not Vomit, Do Not Shout.
Yes.
Would have went really well with
the acid vomit
with sour puke.
Vomit. Sour puke, yeah, there you go.
Sour puke.
Ugh. But Jason Graves started out doing orchestral music on the Hobbit game that Rob also worked on. And they've worked on a lot of the same stuff together. Again, Star Trek Tactical Assault, Star Trek Legacy, Black Site Area 51, 2007, Dead Space all over the place.
Okay.
Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. He's listed on Fear, the F3AR game from back in 2011.
Oh, right. Wasn't there also a Dead Space light gun game or like a shooter game that was like a rail shooter? I think it was called Aftermath or something like that.
If so, he did not work on that.
Oh, okay.
I don't see that listed here anyway. But he also did Friday the 13th, Moss in 2018. Most recently, he also worked as a composer and conductor for Dead Space in 2023. And then the Dark Pictures Switchback VR, which came out in 2023.
Okay.
So that is it for those composers.
Cool. Well, we've got one final sponsorship to go over, and that's for Dredger Corp upgrade modules. Justin, is your spacesuit just not performing to your standards?
It's not, actually.
Okay, well, is the 3 horizontal lights across your face mask not enough to see what you need in dark corners of haunted spaceships? Maybe, just maybe, you just need more space to store your oxygen tanks and status packs.
I do.
Well, Dredger Corp has you covered with the best rig upgrades space money can buy. With prices as low as 10,000 credits, you too can improve your chances of survival in the coldest, most haunted edges of space. Available at any safe room scattered around the festival.
I'll have to check those out.
Oh, for sure. And it looks like we are getting another patron walking
right.
up.
Look at that. I think that looks like RayjKayj, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's definitely a RayjKayj sighting.
Hey, man.
What's happening?
Hey guys. Hold on, let me get this off of me. How's it going, guys? Good to see you again, Mike, and good to actually get to meet you, Justin. This is a pretty cool shindig you got going on here. I'm glad I was able to drag myself out of the shop. Yeah, I was wondering if you could play a song. It's called His Room from the Silver Case, composed by Masafumi Takada.
Yeah.
Nice. This is a bit more creepy than it is spooky, but I hope it fits for your Spookyfest vibe. Most excellent. Well, I hope you guys take it easy and enjoy the rest of your Spookyfest. Oh, man, this is great. Usually every time I get in contact with them, I get screeched in the ear, but this is great.
Oof.
Janine, leave him alone. It's bad enough you yell at him when he calls in on the phone.
Honestly.
Leave him alone at this festival.
This guy.
Sorry, man.
Anyways,
Yeah.
RayjKayj has picked the Silver Case, and the track was His Room. This came out in the PS1 in 1999, and the soundtrack is by Masafumi Takada. Hey, that was RayjKayj's pick from a game called The Silver Case. That was a PS1 game that came out in 1999. His Room was the name of the track, and that was by Masafumi Takada. Man, I really dig the use of phone tone as percussion.
I love that you said that, because on the couple of things that I wrote down as we were listening, the last thing I wrote is, did somebody leave a phone off the hook?
Yeah. I love that. I've seen it in not this particular style, but any game that uses sound effects as percussion, that is so good.
Agreed.
It really sets a different tone and atmosphere to a track.
Exactly. Atmosphere is what I was going to say. And I wrote it as kind of a funny thing, but I absolutely agree. When it's used like that, it's not really that distracting. It was used throughout the entire song. It wasn't till closer to the end that I was just like, oh, hey, did someone leave a phone off the hook? Like, my brain was like actually tuning into it, but it was just kind of in the background, and it made sense until I like focused in on it.
This is actually the very first Grasshopper developed title.
Oh.
That was the studio that was founded by Goichi Suda, or Suda51. You may know them for the Killer 7 or No More Heroes games. So, yeah, they really didn't have a lot of resources when it came to making this game. Very short staff, limited numbers as far as that goes. But this is a adventure visual novel style game. It came out on initially PlayStation, but it was later remastered and released digitally for Windows, Mac, also PS4. There was a Nintendo DS port that was in the works, but it never happened. And then they released it on the Switch in 2021. So pretty neat. If they've translated this to English, I'd love to play it, because these types of games where like you've got kind of creepy vibes mixed in with the adventure visual novel stuff is kind of something I want to explore more. So
that sounds like it might be interesting. I did see that the listings mentioned, visual novel and an adventure.
You're solving a serial murder mystery, and you can play up two different characters, and the scenarios are different for each one.
Yeah. I was going to say, with the type of game it is, this feels like, one of our earlier tracks where we had said, what was it, Secret of Mana? It's not a spooky, scary game, but it is like that track fits with the theme and the festival. And this, I was going to say the same thing. Like, if the rest of the music in this game is not like this, then this is a good standout track. There's good use of like discordant notes. Like, it doesn't sound bad. It just sounds like creepily, eerily discordant. Also, I like how the melody occasionally gets aggressive. I wrote, like, this song sounds like the performer is angry at me. Like, there are parts where I'm just like, I can see somebody like playing an instrument and just like playing it angrily while staring at me.
Yeah. So I think that this got a physical release, possibly. I don't know. It's on sale right now on Amazon, but I can't tell if it's like just for a physical game with a code in it, or if it's like an actual like on-cart game. So,
what about Masafumi Takada?
Yeah, Masafumi Takada is a well-known composer amongst Grasshopper. So been with Grasshopper pretty much since the beginning. Their first game that they did sound programming on was Ranmahaf Battle Renaissance, a PlayStation game. And then they kind of jumped around and worked on different projects like Vanguard Bandits in 1998, which I believe was a Working Designs game.
Yes, it was.
This game was done in 1999, and there were a few games done after that, like Flower, Sun, and Rain, which later came out on the DS, if I recall. They did the score composition for games like God Hand.
Oh.
So, and they were also the sound director on that one. After that, they kind of started jumping to games that were a little bit more higher noted, as far as stuff like Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles, No More Heroes, the Flower, Sun, and Rain port on the DS, stuff like Infinite Space, which I believe was a Sega game or Sega published game. Kid Icarus Uprising, they worked on some music composition for that. After that, they were the lead music composer on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan, which was a newer Turtles game that came out. They did stuff on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and their latest game is Master Detective Archives Rain Code, which came out this year for the Switch.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, they're still working today.
Nice.
Yeah. One of these days we'll have to maybe do a spotlight on them. They've got some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, no, they've done some killer stuff.
Yeah. Ha, no pun intended. Killer 7.
But up. Yes.
Wah. All right. Close us out. What do you end in this year's Spookyfest with?
All right, I'm going to end us with a Halloween game called Halloween Chronicles Evil Behind a Mask. This is actually kind of going back to our I Spy Spooky mention, so we're coming full circle here.
Ooh.
This is another like find the items type of game. It's got some pretty neat music. It came out in 2019 for the PC. The track is called Touch the Fingertips, and it has an unknown composer. All right, you're back, and that is it. We are wrapping up and closing down the fest.
We've finished our Voodoo Mountain Dew.
Almost. That's why we're wrapping up. Once these mugs are gone,
Yep, we're gone.
We are gone for another month.
Extinguishing our fall candle like the Midnight Society of VGM.
Yes,
So,
but that track that you just heard was Touch the Fingertips from Halloween Chronicles Evil Behind a Mask, the 2019 game that came out in PC. I could not find a composer on this. This is an unknown until somebody tells me, and then I'll know.
very creepy. I love the chorus vocals.
Oh, the theremin?
Yeah. Wait, no, that was vocals, wasn't it?
There might have been vocals in there, but the overall, like...
I felt like it was a female voice, maybe it was a theremin and I just didn't realize, but...
Yeah, I mean, theremins kind of sound voice-ish.
You kind of sound the voice-ish.
Nice. I also could be wrong, and maybe I assumed it was a theremin, and so it just sounded like a theremin to me.
Maybe.
I'll have to give it another listen after you called it a vocal, and maybe you're right. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But either way...
I dug it.
Yeah, I thought it was an appropriate closer, and especially with our intro going full circle back around to a hidden object game. Mm-hmm. That's what they call them these days. I really liked the vibe from this song. Like you said, the theremin gives it the overall creepy, spooky vibes. Very like twinkly melody going on with those keys there. It gives me what I want to end this fest with.
It gives me the willies.
It does.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, this game, like I said, it is a hidden object game. So you are going through, and your Uncle Oswald invites you to his shop for Halloween, and nobody's expecting any of the spooky things or the scares that he has planned to be real. But what turns out to be a cursed mask turns your father into a horrible creature, and he won't rest until all the monsters have returned. So it's up to you to stop them before they can summon the Lord of Nightmares himself, the Boogeyman.
Ooh.
But it's neat. Like, there are many different locations. You got to go from location to location, find the things you need to progress the story.
Cool.
And it's all fairly cut and dry. I've never seen a hidden object game like this with, like, multiple endings. I don't think this has multiple endings, but it always interests me. Like, it's a very linear game. You can kind of go wherever you want and do it however you want. It's almost reminiscent of like the King's Quest type games.
Oh, cool.
Sierra games, where like you're going from place to place and you got to find all the things. But in those games, it's a little bit more interaction. And with these games, it's you find the things, and sometimes you find a thing and that opens up another screen where, okay, so you found this specific thing, or you found this area, and now there's like a kind of like a scavenger hunt. There's just a bunch of stuff in a small area, and you got to find all the right things. They're neat. Like I said, kind of like the nanograms and the Sudokus and the puzzle games. It's very kind of low stakes. Like, the story gives it stakes, but in reality, it's more linear than anything else.
Sure.
It's not like you're timed and the world's going to end if you don't finish the game in 2 hours or anything. Look for the things, keep your brain moving, and have a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was a good one to close us out with.
Oh, I thought so.
We'd love to know what your favorite tracks are for this Spookyfest episode. Now's the time where we pick ours. So, Justin, what's your favorite pick of this Spookyfest?
The Laser Ghost track was fun. It made me laugh a little bit. So I did enjoy that one. Luigi's Mansion, I gotta say, I know it's one of my picks, but I really enjoyed the Luigi humming along and trying to keep himself from getting too scared. And I liked RayjKayj's pick, the silver case. That was proper spooky.
Yeah.
How about you?
I gotta go with your Luigi's Mansion track as my absolute favorite. Just brings me back to playing that game and just really enjoy all the music in that game. So yeah, Luigi's Mansion's gonna be my pick for that. Of the tracks that I picked, probably the Laser Ghost track, just because it's very jazzy and I really like the walking bass line mixed with that kind of borderline free jazz.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah. I did enjoy those bits of that track.
So let us know what you think of this episode in our various social medias, or just shoot us an email, whatever you'd like. So we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons, without whom this show's continued improvement would be impossible. They are Cam Worma, Jordan and Anson Davis, RayjKayj, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, Scott McElhone, Chris Myers, Brad Austin, Chris Murray, Llama Adam, Marcus Stewart, Nick Davis, and Ryan McPherson.
If you would like to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/XVGM Radio. There you can see the different tiers as well. Just $1 gets you a thank you at the end of the show and access to our monthly live shows.
You can visit our website, xvgmradio.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and learn more about your hosts, as well as any of our guests or composers that we've had on the show.
If you'd like to reach out to us, you can always email us at xvgmradio@gmail.com.
If you've liked what you've heard, please consider giving us a review on iTunes.
You can join our Facebook group and chat with other VGM lovers at facebook.com/groups/xvgmradio, where we talk about everything from current game news to sharing awesome VGM tracks, or just talking about the podcast itself.
You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle on both of those sites is @XVGMRadio.
If you don't have any other social media or just want to try something unique, check us out on our Discord group chat. Links will be in the show notes.
All right, so before we get to our next episode topic and info, Justin, we've got a few quick things just to run over, specifically regarding this month and the things that we did this month that have already passed.
Yeah, so this Spookyfest episode is hitting your ears very close to the end of the month of October, or possibly later. But earlier in the month, on the 15th, we had a good time for the patrons. It's been a while since we've had a patron live show. Life has been crazy in many, many ways, and we love our patrons and thank you for your patience. But if you haven't, check it out. Our annual Spookyfest Backstage Pass. This time we actually had a focus, so instead of doing just, more spooky tracks, we had a focus on Seigakumajo Gensetsu.
Yeah, that's the Akumajo Densetsu, so Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, Genesis remake of the original Famicom soundtrack for that game. And it was done by Karina de Alejandro. So we had her on the show and it was a blast. And we had a great time going over a bunch of really awesome Castlevania songs. So that was cool to do. Switch it up a little bit. That aired on 10/15, so you can go back and check that out if you're a patron. It's still up. So
Yeah.
Along with all our other previous Backstage Passes episodes, too. So if you're in the mood for something spooky, you can listen to all those.
And we encourage it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then there was an After Dark that we did. XVGM After Dark is when we listened to VGM Vinyl. We listened to it on the twitch.tv/shock83j16.
Yep, that's my Twitch channel.
Yep. So Resident Evil's Drama Vinyl is the one that we listened to. It's basically a mix of Resident Evil 1 tunes with the voiceover, the awesomely hilarious and great original dub of Resident Evil. So I highly encourage you to check that one out. Really fun listen.
Yeah, no, that was a good time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we had said we were doing that one in September, and then September happened, and that did not. So we then decided, this is actually perfect vinyl for October time. So we did it in October.
In November, we've got Super Dodgeball coming up for XVGM After Dark. Justin's going to be unboxing and playing the Super Dodgeball soundtrack, and I'll be there with all my dodgeball gear on.
Yes, you better be, because
I should.
Yeah, that finally arrived. I pre-ordered it when it came out.
Earlier this year,
Yeah, and it showed up towards the middle of September. I was very excited to get it, and I have not opened it yet, so I am champing at the bit to get to it, and we'll have to wait until November to do so.
Fantastic.
Yep.
In addition to that, there is no live show for that month.
No live show in November.
Right.
But we have an unalive show. No, we have a regular episode coming out in November. Our next episode is going to be Infernax with Jason Latorno.
Yeah, he's the composer of Infernax, which is a very much inspired by Castlevania 2 game. So check it out. If you've played the game, you know how cool it is and how great the soundtrack is. So I'm really excited to listen to this one with Jason and talk about his influences and everything else.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. And one other thing before we sign off, this year, as I have done every year, I am doing an Extra Life stream. Extra Life weekend officially is the weekend of November 4th this year, but I will not be around for that. And in fact, most of my November is pretty packed. So what I'm doing instead of delaying it is doing it a week early. So the last weekend of October.
So Halloween weekend.
Yes. So the 27th, 28th, and 29th, I will be doing my 24 hours of video game streaming for Extra Life to help sick kids with cancer. If you haven't already seen it in the Discord or anywhere else that we've posted, I have a link to my Extra Life page, extralife.org/participant/Justin-Schneider. That will take you to my Extra Life page where you can watch the stream through that page. You can also watch it through my Twitch channel, which we mentioned earlier. You can also make donations to the charity on that page. There are also incentives during the streams. You can donate $1 to make me stop playing and take a drink of water, because sometimes we play games and we forget to hydrate. You can also donate $5 to make me stop playing a game and go grab one of my Sphinx cats and harass them on stream for a while. There's a couple of incentives that you do not have to wait for the streams. So for $10, you can set a game challenge for me. Any of the games that you see that I'm playing, donate $10 and tell me to do a specific thing. And if I can't do the thing, I will match the donation when I complete the stream weekend. And then for $20, you can pick a game for me to play on Sunday. So Sunday is divided up into 5 2-hour blocks. And you can pick a game off of the list that I provide on my Extra Life site and say, hey, play this game for 2 hours, and just let me know which time slot you want. Those are limited, so if you get to the website and you don't see that incentive, check my schedule and you'll probably see that Sunday has games listed instead of open slots. But yes, please do consider jumping in and donating to help sick kids with cancer.
Absolutely. So we'll see you in 1 month where we'll continue the spooky with Infernax. This is Mike.
And Justin.
Signing off for XVGM Radio.